Offspin Media Friends proudly presents PS After I Love You, an Offspin original.
Hi, welcome to another episode of PS After I Love You. This time, I'm going to introduce you to the guy for whom, in a way, I'm doing this podcast. I know it sounds cheesy, but we're going to sit down together today and explore the learnings of the last 4 episodes and tell you how that has changed our lives. Alright, so let's welcome Ram, the person I'm in love with and my life partner. Hi Ram, welcome to the podcast.
Hey Heer, thanks for having me here. I'm excited to be episode number 5 and excited to be here.
Okay, you see how he called me Heer. That's rare. I mean, I gave him a warning. No PD on the podcast, and now he's calling me by my name. So yeah, that's weird. Yeah, but episode number 5. So before we start the podcast, I'm going to go into a rapid fire with you.
Go for it. I'm ready.
So whoever is listening to this podcast, I have 10 questions that I'm going to ask Ram, which apparently help you know your partner better. You too can ask your partner if you want. So here goes the first one. Hobbies, shared or separate?
Shared.
Pets, dogs or cats?
Dogs.
Vacations, beach or mountains?
Both.
Movies, comedy or drama?
Both.
Are you an introvert or an extrovert?
Both.
Coffee or tea?
Tea.
Oh no, I'm a coffee person. Oh my god. Morning or night?
Morning.
Oh no, I'm a night person. Whoever knows me knows that. Damn. Okay, city or countryside?
City.
I don't know you anymore. I disown you. Okay, fine. Books or movies?
Both. I cannot decide on that.
Okay. Music, pop or rock?
Rock.
Summer or winter?
Winter.
Okay, I'm just going with it. I'm pretty sure I've crossed 10 questions, but it's like, oh my god. I've known you for so long and yet we are so different. And it's like, oh my, like you're a chai person and you're a morning person. Why?
Well, we're not supposed to talk about work and habits. So morning is there. Chai is Mumbai.
Yeah. Okay,
That's
I'm
how it
gonna stop you right
And
there.
I'm also 3/4
No.
Malayali.
Okay, fine. You can talk.
I'm done.
Okay, so this is what usually happens. We keep talking, we keep overlapping each other, and right from the beginning of our relationship up to until now, we've really worked on our communication where I've learned to listen more and he's learned to talk more. Okay, so when he said Chai is Mumbai, I'm just going to tell you guys that I am a Mumbaikar, a hardcore Mumbaikar, born and brought up in the city, Ram is in Bangalore, 1,200 kilometers away, and
1,103.
okay, fine. So he loves being precise. That's also another thing. And we've been in a long distance relationship for about 8 to 9 months now. And it's been tough. It's really been tough. But before we get into what our relationship is like, I'm going to let Ram tell the story of how we met. And it's a little filmy, but it's all true. Go for it, Ram.
Well, we met in school. Heer and I were
In 5th grade.
in 5th grade. She had joined the school I was a part of since inception.
Yeah. We were 14 people in the class, right?
Yeah, but before that we were 3. So when she came into my life, I was the happiest person. That's how we met. But I think it wasn't until engineering, but the period I left Mumbai, that we somehow got back in touch through Facebook Messenger.
Yeah, those days.
It's crazy. I didn't use Facebook Messenger. It was just to message Heer, and that's how it started. And it was 11 years of best friendship and 18-19 years of friendship that we have right now. Um,
Yeah, I think even now, the baseline for us is that we are best friends, and no matter what, we never want to lose that. Even as being so head over heels in love with each other after all these years.
yeah, 100%. Like that's definitely one of the basic things that I have always felt, to be there and be her best friend above everything. And I think it was second, third year of engineering when like I confessed very
Oh,
cryptic.
wait. I'm not okay. That story I'm going to say. So
Okay, cool.
he didn't. Okay, when
How
when he
dare you?
confessed, when he confessed, it was literally Greek to me. He sent me a text message. This is the time of text messages when WhatsApp was alien to us, and Google was also not like handy. He sent me a gapose, which is Greek for "I love you," and this is 2012. And I'm standing, waiting for a local train in the Mumbai heat, and I'm wondering what the hell is that. And of course, I completely ignored that. And I think at that point, from that point onwards, we were just pure friends. I mean, a lot of people around us would wonder about our chemistry, but even while being in relationships, we were very clear and we never stepped out of line. We were the best friends ever. But yeah, that's the first time he told me, and that was 2012. We're in 2023, and for 11 years, this guy has been true to his feelings. So I've been in awe of him for that.
Why, thank you.
I think I'm going to explain how. Now you must be wondering why we're together now. What happened? So I think there were two trigger points for me. One was a very sad one, but when Ram lost his mother last year, I flew down to Bangalore and I went to the crematorium, and I'm meeting his relatives for the first time, and nobody knows me. I'm in a city where I've never been before. I have no friends there. And this guy who's just lost his mom and is in such deep grief and stuck up with so many rituals made sure that all of his relatives knew I was coming and that I was comfortable and taken care of, like, and didn't feel lonely. And this that really touched my heart. But of course, that was not where we began. But I think that was a huge thing for me. That wow, this guy deserves the world. And I think deaths and the loss of our loved ones is what brought us together.
It was like we were always best friends, but there are these moments that maybe wake us up, not wake us up, but give us courage to go forward. And those are extremely emotional moments, especially if it's a long lasting friendship, or a whole environment, or boundaries. Everything was set for so long that it's difficult to get out of those four, like, walls of
Yeah,
thinking, and that needs a
absolutely.
lot of kickstart in
Yeah.
the heart.
And I think we were always scared to lose each other because we were rocks in each other's lives. And from what my experiences were, I was like, if we are in a relationship, we will not last and even like lose this friendship. But then I think in July, end of July, I went on my first Europe trip. And I went to a festival called Boom, where it was a completely different culture, new people. It opened my eyes, like the world could be like this too. And despite having so many interesting things to try and experience and look at the world, all I kept thinking of was, why isn't Ram here? And I want him to be here and I want to share this with him. And I just kept thinking about him all the time. And that's when it started becoming clearer that the only reason why I wasn't with him was fear, and different kinds of fears, of course. And also that maybe I'll lose my best friend, and we just completely canned our feelings for a really long time. But yeah, then I came back and it was just a full fledged cheesy romance where uh, I took him to the hospital where I was born, like outside the hospital in Juhu, and I said, I love you. And then life came a full circle for me.
And that was really, really sweet. and like moving that I could be there. I think if we get down to how everything happened and how everything developed, we would need more than an episode or a life.
Yeah.
Okay, like we would need at least a month. So
Yeah,
for-
absolutely.
yeah.
So Ram, I want to ask you now, and this is something I asked all the guests on this podcast. From when you started this relationship and now, how have you changed as a person because of this relationship?
Well, how I've changed is I'll just explain how I was before the relationship. I was more or less a closed off person with almost everybody. In expression wasn't a mandatory thing, and I'd always be holding back on both expression and action. And since this relationship started, I've been able to trust and fall into the relationship enough, so much that I was able to express. And that's one of the most important things anyone has to have or feel in their life, not just in a relationship. They should be able to trust that they can express. And yeah, that's one of the main things. The other one of the other main aspects that changed in my life was I was able to maybe stand up to my desires, like stand up to what I wanted,
Yeah.
and not let it be one of those things that I just chase.
Yeah.
And I didn't want that. I wanted to break that glass ceiling. And with you, it's just been glass shattering moments where
Yeah.
I could discover myself and also focus on how I could better us and better you.
Absolutely. For me, you have always felt like the home I was looking for, and for someone who is a hippie or a gypsy at heart, and I just want to travel the world and have more and
Yeah.
more experiences and widen my universe. You being home or feeling like home is just a huge deal for me. So from the beginning of the relationship, where I've become more trusting, I've started understanding that there are different ways to love. I've obviously put the fairy tales in the dustbin and decided that I'm going to be writing my own story. I've also strayed away from typical romantic gestures. I don't need grand gestures anymore. I don't need cheesy romance. I've also learned to be more flexible, be more open, and love like there's no tomorrow. I think that's how I love you.
That just made me blush. I'm sorry.
I can't see that. Damn. Why I can't see that? Okay. That brings us to an interesting turn. Long distance relationships suck. And like there's no other way I would put that. You're away from your partner and all you have is video calls and earphones, and the amount of earphones. I think I stopped using Bluetooth earphones because I had to charge them so frequently because all we had was calls. And it's just about missing out on experiences you can share with your partner, and traveling back and forth, squeezing in weekends, outings, trips. But still, it's always like it comes with a deadline, it comes with a countdown, and it's heartbreaking to not be with Ram 24/7. At first, I think Ram, I thought it was new relationship energy. There's a very interesting neurologist called Dr. Sid Warrior or Warrior who says that NRE lasts for a few months for a few people. NRE is new relationship energy. But if you want to make it last, you need to have the right amount of unpredictability in your relationship. With us, we are just flying from Mumbai to Bangalore, surprising each other half the time and spending most of our money on it. That factor, that unpredictability is still there, and we still have that NRE or honeymoon phase.
Yeah, 100%. And I think relationships are by default are supposed to be about bringing in the energy in each other's lives. And I don't think, I for one, I know you two will not let that energy down at all. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think, yeah, correct. So now do you want to go through the 4 episodes and talk about them? What you learned from it, how we implemented those learnings in our relationship?
Yeah, 100%. Yes.
Sure. So the first episode, Vaishali and Rohit. So I think the biggest thing that struck out for me was how she went for 2 months into the mountains and traveled while he was okay with that completely. How
Yeah, that was
they
crazy.
said, yeah, and how they said it was okay to miss the other person, and it's not necessary to be together for everything and every time. That doesn't mean you're growing in different directions. And how she said that you have to know why you are together and what you want, and then even if you grow in different directions, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, like how cool, how supportive of each other's individuality was a real. I mean, it was really great to hear, and that was maybe like one of the biggest learnings from that episode for me, because I agree with that too. Like it may just be healthy to miss the other person. It doesn't necessarily have anything to do with
Yeah,
going
absolutely.
into the mountains, but I mean the feeling of missing your loved one. I mean that does, like, it seems like a strangely healthy thing once in a while.
Yeah, so I think missing you has brought us together. Like both of us missing each other has brought us really close.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And I think that also fuels our surprise
Yeah.
factors, like dropping down. I've been shocked more than you've been shocked, but
Hey, I'm better at surprises than you. Okay.
for now.
Oh, okay,
But
fine.
yeah, that energy is, I think the missing factor is also included in the new relationship energy kind of thing, and that's not going. And that's why it's in my head healthy. So yeah, that first episode was amazing. How how they met, how they went down to brass tacks, I guess, and how they developed each other's individuality while like being together. So yeah, first episode was like rocking.
One of the other things that Rohit said on the podcast was, and a few other people also messaged me saying how that was mind-boggling for them, that we always think of two people as two lines, and we expect those two lines to be starting from two different points and coming together. Like relationships are to come together, and they start intersecting. But two lines will intersect and go in different directions, if you imagine it visually. But if you think of two lines that are running parallelly, who are doing things together and apart, the question of going away doesn't even come. Like, I know it's a very graphical and logical answer to relationships and growing apart, but I think it was really mind-blowing for me.
Yeah. To like add on that graphically, two parallel lines can be on the same wavelength and plane, literally. So that doesn't mean they stay apart, or they need to intersect to be together, but they can vibe and be on the same wavelength and on the same plane. So yeah. Thanks for the geometry recap here.
I think another thing that they said was how, without fail, they went on walks. How they had this Friday morning breakfast sessions, and that was their, no matter what happened, they would keep doing that. And I think those tiny rituals are really important, and I think that's what I learned from that episode and a few other episodes too, because everyone I spoke to
Yeah.
had their own rituals, and it was pretty amazing for me.
Yeah, rituals are not routine. They're special in their own way, and
Yeah. What do you think our
they have
rituals
a
are?
binding. Our rituals, our rituals are
Traveling together,
more.
I think.
It's more right now. 100%. It circles around planning together,
Yeah, planning together. We both
traveling.
love Excel sheets and Google Sheets, by the
Yeah,
way.
this is like pre us kind of thing. Since
Yeah.
we were best friends, we
Yeah,
would be
we
like
plan
uber
together. Yeah.
hyped about opening an Excel sheet and figuring out our pitch stops.
Yeah.
And I think that's been our ritual since quite some time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that planning together is definitely something that shows us, I think, a roadmap of our lives that are going that's going on, whether it's like a travel plan or a finance plan or anything.
Absolutely. Yeah. Also, I think having ice cream together.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I think, yeah, we both
Yeah,
have a sweet
ice cream.
tooth. You have a bigger
Yeah.
sweet tooth, but yeah.
Yes,
And
definitely.
coffee, the black coffee sessions. He said he's a chai person, but he has black coffee with me. He has black coffee with sugar. I think another one of our rituals, which I'm now identifying, is random acts of kindness. When we're together, you'll just find us helping someone or the other in a really small way. But we'll just like look at each other and nod, and we'll know what we want to do. Whether
Yeah.
it's someone on the road, someone we know, someone we have to teach how to use the computer, or send a book to like empower her because she doesn't know better. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
so wide. Like,
Yeah.
I think it's
Keep going.
also listening to music together.
Oh, 100%. And watching
Yeah.
movies together,
And dancing
watch
together.
parties.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, not, okay, when we say dancing together, we don't mean romantic dancing at all. It's just lungi dance that Mumbaikars are. You see the ones, band baja
Yeah.
baja ke karte. We'll just keep doing that, yeah. But I think another thing that has become another ritual is you also have started processing things out loud instead of processing it on your own. Like, I need to process everything out loud, so I need to sit down and talk to you. But you too have started doing that. And while just talking to each other, we immediately start finding solutions to our problems. Instead of journaling, I think I've started talking to Ram, which is pretty cool.
100. Strangely, it seems like our talking conversations are rituals in its own way. So,
Yeah, I think those are our episode 1 learnings. Episode 2, the one with Nidhi Sharma, the therapist. I mean, that was mind-boggling,
Mind-boggling, yeah.
mind-blowing. I don't have the right words.
yeah.
What did you learn from it? What were your key learnings?
My main learning was definitely redefine love.
Yeah.
The perspective of it, the necessity, and like those were 100% the like mind-boggling learnings for me. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I think, yeah, that too. But my key learning wasn't that. My key learning, and I've been stuck on it for a really long time, and that helped me grow, was that every person has a different love language. And then she said at the end of the episode to read the book by, I think, Gary Chapman, who says there are 5 love languages. And I'm going to name them out for you. So, words of affirmation, quality time, receiving gifts, acts of service, and physical touch. These are the 5 love languages. So, in the beginning, I would find myself hurt sometimes if my love language was not reciprocated the same way. I used to go gaga about reciprocation. Then I understood, if my love language is giving gifts or gifting, yours was acts of service or words of affirmation. If mine was quality time, yours was physical touch. Like, I think it's like so different, and that's what solved a lot of things for me, because my perspective changed, and I learned to look at what you were already doing for me instead of just being blocked by a vision or expectation of what I wanted as ABC, when love is never ABC. Love is A to Z or even beyond Z. So I think that was my biggest learning. And of course, redefining love, romance. Romance क्या होता है? सबका अपना अपना definition है. There's no fixed definition. I think
Yeah.
that was pretty crazy, about trust, about emotional bonding. And somehow her episode just keeps taking me back to this bit in Dear Zindagi where there's a scene where Alia Bhatt asks Shah Rukh Khan, and he says, "You can't put the burden of everything on one relationship. With someone can be a good coffee partner, someone can be a good gossip partner, someone is just good to go on trips with, someone is great to cry with. So, putting the burden of every kind of relationship on your life partner is just too much." And that's what opened my eyes.
When she spoke about cheating, that was also a real perspective on it. That it's not limited to physical intimacy. It goes into if we lose trust or we place trust in another person, that also is equally hurtful along the same lines as a quantifying factor. So that was also pretty eye-opening.
Then I think moving on to episode 3, Guru and Shruti.
Yeah.
Theirs was a very unique love story, and there were two things for me that I took away from it. One, there is no set pattern to a relationship. You don't need to have a honeymoon phase, you don't need to date, you don't need to have those moments. And it's not necessary कि शादी के बाद life खत्म हो गई and you cannot do things. I mean, for Shruti, her life changed drastically and it only began after marriage. For Guru, he entered into a different world completely that opened him up, and all thanks to Shruti for that.
Yeah.
So that was one thing. And the second thing, and which I've been asking a lot of people, was how they resolve their conflicts. Like understanding everybody has a different behavior to resolve conflicts. Like she said, she likes to resolve it then and there, but Guru likes a little bit of space and would like to come back to it later.
Yeah.
So
We
yeah,
also, I think,
yeah.
saw, like we also found that in that episode that not all, like, arranged marriages, the stereotype is very different, and it really depends on
Yeah.
how the two people connect, and how it develops from there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think in the beginning of our relationship, I made the mistake of letting you just intuitively understand because I thought, it's a stupid thinking that he should know what I want. And in conflicts, I just expected you to just know what to do and read my mind, and not consciously, but that was an error I was making. But after listening to their podcast, I understand that I have to clearly communicate what I want you to do. I mean, of course, over the period of time, we both have become very intuitive to each other's needs and synced into our
100%,
energies.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I can't expect you to read my mind.
Of course,
So,
I can't expect the same thing, right? If
Yeah,
something's up, that episode really brought out how you have to bring it up, speak it out
Yeah.
on the table, so that we discover what we need on the go. And
Yeah, absolutely.
it's all about making mistakes and, like, being brave enough to address them and speak it loudly. So
Yeah.
that's one definite lesson learned from taking from Guru and Shruti's episode, which was episode 3.
I want to give a pat on our backs for one thing. We've always been like we can tell each other anything, and that comes from, I think, 18 years of friendship.
100%.
But we have that comfort space that I can come and say anything to you and you can tell me anything. So that has really worked for us, and there's no gaslighting ever. Like if I have gone to you and told you this is not working for me and this is how I feel, you don't jump into defensive mode and say, but I didn't do this, but I didn't do that. For you, what's important is how I'm feeling, and that's the truth, and you help me through it. Even if you're not really at 100% fault, as I may make it appear at that moment.
Yeah, I mean, it is like in the end about how we address each other's feelings. and that's what keeps people and together. I also liked how we've always been able to take it, like whatever we needed to speak about, we could speak it immediately, and
Yeah.
like you said, no gaslighting and no and two people in a relationship definitely need to have that the comfort to speak to each other the way they want to, uh, and no need to
Yeah.
curb your words and like dodge this, dodge that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I think another thing that Guru said at the towards the end of that episode was about how they decided not to have kids, and their decision became very clear only after they tuned out any third or fourth person who had opinions about their relationship, and that was something that stuck with me because it's been tough with us, like because of certain reservations from families, like I have a completely different upbringing, which is pretty cool, and my family has been very accepting. Yours, on the other hand, was not in the beginning, and there were like five other voices who were saying things about our relationship, which was just about us, right? It was about what we wanted to do, and we didn't really hurt anybody.
yeah,
But yeah, but when Guru said it's about tuning everybody else out and it's about what you want, I think I've become stronger, and there is no need to please everyone. There is no need to get accepted by everyone. You are enough.
yeah.
And
When there's an unconventional relationship, it's definitely going to be important that the important stuff about that happen, like the important things between us, are decisions we need to take. And yeah, what Guru said there was that if you the both of the two people in the relationship, or the people in the relationship, make the decision together, nothing else matters. Everything else has to fall into place in the other, for people who are affected, I guess.
yeah, yeah. And you've stood up for me multiple times, and which is what matters as well, to stand up for your partner. I think that's something I've not heard so far in any of the episodes I've recorded. But to have each other's back, support each other, and I think you're my biggest cheerleader. I mean, so many days every day, I think almost, I would hear great things from you. That really helps my confidence. And for an overthinker, it's not easy to be in a relationship with an overthinker like me. So all of that really helps, and I know that you'll always have my back, which is rare, and I think that's really working out for us.
Yeah, like I also know you have my back. Like I don't even need to think about it sometimes. The decisions I've taken and I've had the courage to take is because I knew I could make those decisions without fear that I would be alone in the struggle. So yeah, these things.
Absolutely, yeah. From their episode, I think I've also understood that you have to embrace your differences and cherish them. And I think at the beginning of our relationship, you used to call what we are was like yin and yang.
Yeah.
And
We named a
you
Bluetooth
didn't have to
device
have
after that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's still called yin and
Yeah.
yang. But yeah, you don't have to be the same. You can have different interests, and you can still complement each other. So the next episode, episode 4, with Shreya and Varisha, was, I think, by far one episode that helped me understand there are no tick boxes, there are no boxes, and relationships don't have a set definition.
Exactly. Yeah.
One thing that I took away from it was how they bonded emotionally rather than physically, and the first bond was emotional. And I think that's pretty brilliant, because we've only bonded through so many conversations, or a lot of them have been digital.
Yeah.
But
Emotional all the same.
there was a similarity in their relationship was in the lockdown, is when they started dating, and all they had was video calls until they finally met. So yeah, sometimes all we have is video
Yeah.
calls until we figure out a better way. But yeah, that was one thing. What was it for you in that
That
episode?
episode was really about how they were, the circumstances they had to manage were really uh, like full of pressure, I guess. But they managed to stick to their
Yes.
hearts despite what they
Yeah.
went through. And that takes a lot of energy, guts, and love. Without that basic love, they wouldn't have uh, found the energy to go through it, video or or anything. So their story was really really brave. And that episode, I think,
Yeah.
was
And
the
we've yeah.
one
Yeah.
the episode that started with the COVID like paradigm
Yeah.
shift.
Yeah. I think we've also have had to be brave, and like them, we've also come closer through loss, grief,
Yeah.
a lot of ups and downs in life that have happened in the last 8 to 9 months. Just sail through it instead of abandoning each
Yeah.
other.
My God, yes.
That and yeah, I think another interesting that stood out for me was how Shreya said she was a polyamorous, and Varisha was completely at peace with it. How she wasn't insecure, even if that was in the past, and how she trusted her. How it was just mind blowing for me. I could see the importance of trust, and that above all, what matters is what you feel for that person, and that was really great. Another thing is, and I found that very cute, was how they have two kittens they call their babies, and they have a little family of their own.
Yeah.
They're living together, and like they have a whole world that they've created from scratch for themselves, and building that in a relationship takes a lot of work.
Yeah.
So that was very inspiring for me.
It was really inspiring. It also opened our eyes with respect to how it's being treated in this society on like number of partners and everything. Like if you have trust, like you said, and if you have if you're open with each other, Nidhi's a reference of cheating doesn't even come into play, right? If two people are as different as North Pole, South Pole, it doesn't matter if we trust each other. Two people trust each other, and we can and talk to each other and have that courage to talk to each
Yeah.
other. So
Yeah. Okay. So that brings us to the end of this episode. Thank you, Ram, for being on this. I'm going to have you again. But before you go, I think it's time for us to give out 3 do's and don'ts that we think that would make a relationship work. I've been asking this to everyone. So, whatever you remember, you've taken away from the episodes, what do you think? 3 tips or 3 do's and don'ts, whatever that comes to your mind.
Well, the 3 do's would be one would be to not feel afraid of expressing. The second would be to trust your partner. And the third would be to feel ready to work on issues whenever they pop up with your partner and not alone.
Yeah.
And 3 don'ts would be one, don't take shit for things you have believed in or you have invested in with your partner. Don't take shit from anyone else, like anyone about your relationship. Another would be don't confine yourself to the problems you have right now. Like the life will always have challenges, and you should take that in spirit, because there's always improvement. And the third don't would be don't stop believing in love wherever you are, whenever you are, and however you
Yeah.
are. What about you? What are your 3 do's and don'ts?
Three don'ts. I would start with three don'ts that I think I've learned is one, don't assume that your partner knows everything. Don't assume them to mind read. Two, don't go into the relationship with the mindset that this is how relationships are or how romance is. And three, don't go into a relationship with past baggage and compare your partner with your exes, or assume that if something happened once, it can happen again. Three do's would be one, identify your partner's love language, so it's easier for you to see what they're doing for you and there's less hurt and your expectations are aligned. Two, make sure you have at least 1 hour every day. I know times are busy and everything, but 1 hour every day to talk to your partner. I don't mean that you just do small talk. I mean real talk. How was their day? How do they feel? Knowing how your partner feels at all times is important. What do they think? What happened in their day? Especially if you're in a long distance relationship like we are in. And three, set your own rules for your relationship. Nobody should come and tell you what to do, what not to do. What works for you is great. You can't please everyone. So find out what is working for you and keep doing that. I think these would be my three do's and don'ts.
Strangely, I feel your answers were way better than mine. So
Don't compare. First don't.
Okay, cool.
But yeah, like this was fun. I think it really helped us. Our 1 hour of conversation was through this podcast today. So this was pretty cool. I really like having you on.
I love to be here, and really it feels like an honor. So yeah.
Ooh, okay. Big words. P.S. It must be very difficult for Ram to not be cheesy on the podcast and not do any PDA.
Excruciating,
But
yeah.
We should give him kudos for that.
But thank you.
But thank you, Ram, for being on this podcast. We'll see you soon again. Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
So that was a chatty episode of PS After I Love You that gives you an insight of how these podcasts can be implemented in real life. We might not be the best examples of a couple, or we might just be in learning. But like us, I'm sure there are a lot of other listeners who want to figure out how to make this work. And I hope you enjoyed our conversation. Please tune in to the next episode of PS After I Love You next Thursday. Until then, goodbye.
This podcast is live pretty much everywhere. On Spotify, on Amazon Music, on Apple Podcasts, on Audible, on Gaana, on Savan, on Wink, and pretty much any other podcasting platform we could think of. Share it with a friend that you think just has to listen to this podcast. And if you don't mind, give the Offspin team a like, maybe a subscribe on their Instagram page. Keep listening to Offspin content and keep listening. You just heard PS After I Love You, an Offspin original created and hosted by Heer. Post-production by Arif Chagla, Rajesh Ravi, Anant Krishnan, Sandeep Banerjee, Krishank Das, and Harshlin Israni.
The opinions expressed in this show are personal to the guests and the host and do not necessarily represent the opinions of the producer or the platform. This show does not intend to defame and denigrate any individual or organization in India or outside. The show is created for entertainment purposes only. It does not encourage smoking, drinking, or any kind of substance use. It may contain the use of harsh language that may be considered offensive, rude, or profane by the listeners. Listeners are advised to use their discretion.